seconds. Maybe it was 5 seconds. Maybe it was 10 seconds. Maybe it was 1 second. I don't know. It felt like my brain was able to have so many thoughts in that moment, between these screams and these yells of, where is she? Where is she? And so I go down and I thought I was going to die. And I had a lot of thoughts. You have a lot of thoughts, I think, when you're in a situation like that. And like also one of those thoughts that I had was, I just happened to, be a spiritual person and be raised in that context. And I really just felt like, if this is the plan for me, then people will be able to take it from here. I had a lot of thoughts, but that was the thought that I had about you all. I felt that if this was the journey that my life was taking, that I felt that things were going to be okay. And that, I had fulfilled my purpose. Anyways, sorry guys. So anyways, as I'm hiding in this.
Yeah. So I just thought that was the most powerful part of the live, because obviously, of course, she had fulfilled her purpose. She's done so much good for the progressive movement, and like, it highlights the toxicity with which she's treated by the right-wing media that inflames them in such ways. She's the latent sexualization of her. I experienced this on like a tiny micro scale as someone on the internet. I'm able to identify that with which the fury she's treated, the just complete, like, rabid, foaming at the mouth obsession with her. I mean, you remember all of those memes shared about her graphically on these right-wing pages. That is what is so embedded in this. And her talking about her surviving sexual assault and how that informed this experience, it made it so much clearer to me how much more poignant that trauma would be for her. And there's nobody I can think of in this world who would be more of a target of that kind of hurricane of violence. And I really appreciate her bravery and sharing that.
And, this is stuff, frankly, that should be laid out there in the context of impeachment that is coming up. And Republicans are simply not going to take any responsibility for any of this. And we're seeing it with the Marcia Taylor Greene situation. We'll talk more about that later. But the Republicans are simply not taking responsibility for their role in this, and for Donald Trump's role in it even. And we're going to see more of this over the next couple of weeks. And it was just incredibly moving, and a reminder that, these lawmakers are human, and particularly when you get into this type of sort of like very black and white type of situation as to whether or not we're going to make it out alive. Yeah. That's it for us today. As always, if you missed any part of this program, you can check us out on the Choice channel on the Peacock app. We play at 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. Every day. We will be back with more tomorrow, unless you are still here, in which case we will be back for more still now. I'll have more to say about the AOC thing. And
can I take something onto this? Sure. There's this picture here that Jacobin shared a year or so ago. AOC honors Marielle Franco, murdered by right-wing forces in Brazil last March, with Party of Socialism and Freedom Congresswomen Fernanda Melanchonia, Teleria Petrone, and Samia Bonfin. And I think that's relevant in this context. I think the people that are implying that she's being in any way hysterical are just creeps, and I think it's really gross.
Let's be explicit about when you put that up. Do we have a Greenwald on Jimmy Dore's show? I mean, this is.
And Michael Tracy. I mean, I know we don't take him seriously, but this was so repugnant that, I mean, I tweeted it out last night.
Yeah, that's who I saw. I haven't seen the Greenwald thing yet.
So Michael Tracy tweeted, "Good to know that any loopy delusion expounded by a politician must now be respected and believed," in quotes, under the aegis of trauma.
Put Tracy's
I'm sending it, guys.
Tweet up. And I think I put the Greenwald clip in the Slack. Aside from the fact that Greenwald obviously was friends with that assassinated politician in Brazil, and AOC, I don't know if she was the only American politician to recognize her, but just even separate all of that out. And I tweeted this out, but I'll repeat it here. Having witnessed firsthand during the run-up to the war in Iraq and following it, the treatment that Janine got in a non-social media universe, which I would imagine exacerbates this tenfold. Just from her limited appearances on cable television, arguing against the war, knowing that people were stopping, like that men were getting out of cars in the streets of New York to get into her face and yell at her, threaten her, knowing that there were death threats that some were sort of more serious than others. Understanding sort of like that, just that environment and what it does to your mentality is, it is so grotesque that people would sort of deny this experience. Now, we're going to play this clip from Greenwald. This was released, this mocking of AOC when she was saying, apparently she wasn't saying enough or being explicit enough for Glenn Greenwald's taste to take what she says at face value. I mean, on some level, like, I don't even know why you...
So this was before is what you were going to say. This was before this is
before she gave the talk last night. But I mean...
But still, no, I mean, it's
we
outrageous
all know
no matter
what she's experienced. I mean, you have to be completely deluded to not know that she is the enemy number one. You know, they don't talk about Nancy Pelosi, San Francisco politics anymore. They talk about AOC. And right.
Again, I just need to emphasize the undercurrent of sexual violence that is intertwined with the political violent rhetoric that is directed at her makes it even more intense and frightening. It's as dark as anything I've seen in politics in terms of just the way that she is spoken to and treated by people on the right. And to downplay this by somebody like Glenn, who has experienced massive amounts of death threats in his life based on his reporting, seems like an oversight.
Maybe Glenn didn't experience it as much because he had the money to have a full security force. And he mentioned that was one of the difficult things about leaving The Intercept, was that he would lose his security force. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying that's maybe his argument. But the idea that you wouldn't be aware of the context that she was working in. And then also this is part of like, there's some heavy lifting going on here too, because you have to deny that this attack on the Capitol was in any way real, even though 5 people died. As a minimum, there was a couple of cops who took their own lives in the wake of this. 5 people died. And to look at that situation and think like, oh, there was no chance for more violence, I don't even know. It's just bizarre. Let's play this clip. Okay. The idea that she's centering herself in every drama. I mean, Glenn's
never done that on the internet.
Right. Of course. Glenn, but the dementia on some level that is involved in feeling like you have to go on Jimmy Dore's show to carry this water is, it's just off the charts bizarre to me.
This week has been like the most amazing week of having the left and the right unite against Wall Street.
Oh, pause it for 1 second. Let me just also talk about the other sort of incredible thing about this. Glenn is talking about a tweet AOC did sort of, and a lot of people like enjoyed the fact that these hedge funders, took a big loss. But there's nothing structural to be garnered by this. The idea that the casino is democratized, that's all well and good. But the real problem is that we look at this casino that is Wall Street as serving some type of function to society and as some type of measure of the economy. That's the problem. But the idea that she tweeted out something like this and Ted Cruz responded with, "I agree," and you take that at face value?
Well, I gotta say, I just gotta add this context, Sam, because no one's talking about this part, and I should have pointed it out on Twitter. Cruz and Ocasio-Cortez had attempted in good faith to work together beforehand. In 2019, I interviewed her and talked about how they were working on legislation together to ban former lawmakers from being lobbyists. Nothing came of that. Then, a year and a half later, Ted Cruz helps incite an insurrection that almost has her murdered. So maybe Cruz wasn't operating in good faith that time, and he certainly isn't now.
I don't know if anybody remembers the 2016 campaign where Ted Cruz looked into that camera and said, "You say that about my wife, I will never forgive you, except for 2 weeks from now when I will totally become your sycophant.
I will phone bank for you, you dear leader." All
right, so play this. Listen to the credulity that Glenn Greenwald has for Ted Cruz versus the credulity he gives to AOC.
Unite against Wall Street. Almost everybody across the spectrum supports what those Redditors are doing and is thrilled to see these hedge fund leeches suffering. And it has it's created a major opportunity to regulate, to legislate, to reform. And Ted Cruz, whatever you think of him, reached out by saying, "I agree with AOC about this." So that was an opportunity for right and left to join together to do something that supposedly her main reason for existing as a political figure, which is fighting income inequality. And instead she turns around and says, "Fuck you, I don't want to work with you. You guys got me murdered. You're a white supremacist." And suddenly the two camps divide again. And over here you have the red team and over here you have the blue team cheering like morons at a fucking high school football game again because she ruined that movement because all she wants to do is attack Republicans and fortify the Democratic Party. That is what the left has become, and they know it. And that's why all that's left for them to do is do things like talk about your personality and occasionally mine.
It is stunning to see AOC turn into Adam Schiff. It is stunning to me to see her just totally focus all her ire. And it started for me.
Disturbing breaking news. A Texas man who participated in the Capitol riot is now.
I think we don't need that part of it. That I think was just somebody juxtaposing.
Yeah.
But there it is. I mean, you talk about cheering fucking morons and being on a team.
They should start a podcast themselves called The Edgy Bipartisans. I think they'll do real good numbers.
Well, that's exactly making this case. Making the case that they deride.
Here's the second clip.
That others deride, yeah.
Here's the second clip from that same show, right?
Only thing she does is like occasionally escalate her rhetoric about Republicans.
Yes.
So like, "Oh, you're fascists, you're Nazis." She like use the words that like, that's zero. That's nothing. That's just being an extra Democrat.
That's right. That's right. And
can I just make one more point, Jimmy? Can I
No,
just make one more point?
No.
Pause it for 1 second.
Yes.
This is just like demonstrably false.
Yeah.
She came out and chastised Biden about the $2,000 checks. She was on this program talking about how the HEROES Act and the COBRA subsidies were garbage. The idea that she only critiques Republicans is just demonstrably false. But go ahead.
Use the words that like, that's zero. That's nothing. That's just being an extra Democrat.
That's right. That's right. And
can I just make one more point, Jimmy? Can I just make one more point?
No.
Yes, I have to. Yes, shut up, Jimmy. I wasn't really asking.